People who took part in an episode of Wipeout, the obstacle course, what were your experiences? I was the winner of season 3, episode 16. The experience was awesome. All the contestants and staff were very nice. After I found it I was going to be on the show, I first watched every previous episode to try to determine strategies and then trained solely by swimming laps a few days a week. What you don't realize, because of editing, is that a ton of the contestants' time is spent in the water, especially in the first and last rounds. I had different strategies for each round. First round, don't try to complete the obstacles, just plow through and swim a lot. Last round, go very slow and deliberate since every obstacle must be completed. I nearly had a flawless wipeout zone but fell a few feet from the finish pad and had to foe the last obstacle twice. There is a clip on YouTube of me if you search Wipeout Rockstar. As far as casting, my wife saw an ad for an open casting call on the news and said I should go. A couple hundred people were there and they screen everyone for about 30 seconds, then you come back to film a 5-minute video. I definitely hammed it up for the camera to get on, and the same could be said for most contestants. Another thing I remembered, for every round they show you the course in advance, but everything is stationary and they tell you the general idea for what each obstacle is going to do, but you don't see it moving until it's your turn to go, and there are always a few surprises you don't expect. For the first and last round everyone waits in a holding area while the other people go one at a time. Also, it's filmed over the course of 3 days. Day 1 is round 1 and 2. Day 2 was a week later for round 3. Night 3 was a couple weeks later for the final round. I keep remembering more stuff. Almost all the horizontal surfaces on the obstacles are covered in lube, not just water. It made it very difficult to get traction and plant your feet. My aunt was on it a few years ago. They flew her out from the UK to Argentina, I think, then a load of waivers had to be signed, etc. They know a little bit about you based on your job and hobbies etc. Then they have a scripted sentence that they make you say before you do the first course. Apparently this took her a few attempts because it was cringy AF, but fortunately for her that bit never made it to air. She got to the dizzy dummies stage where they spin you round and then have to get across a slippery platform to the other side, and the first 3 over get to the final. Apparently it was too slippery and no one could make it over for ages, so they stopped the game, cleaned off the soapy stuff, then made everyone restart from where they were. She was in the water at this point, at the furthest point from getting another go, and the first 3 people to face the new non-slippery slope got straight over. I think they still have a WhatsApp group and go out for drinks every now and then. My Apache teacher in high school went on it. He drove up to the filming site on Friday, stayed in a hotel, cannot currently remember if it was paid for, was home by Sunday, and got paid $5 a day for filming. Turns out, the contestants had to be paid something for it to be legal, so it was $5. You only got more money if you won, or got close. All of the water involved was absolutely freezing because they shot it at like 10 in the morning before the water could absorb any heat. Getting hit, he said, was as rough as it looked. It would knock the wind out of you completely, but the atmosphere of cameras and needing to put on a show would give him a second wind. Lots of fire safety waivers. The backstage was entirely disorganized. It's a bunch of people standing around while some people talk into their ears and grab people. They give you a briefing and tell you to act weird. My teacher made it to the final round, where he cost his team, him and his daughter, the victory because he sucks so much at the final stage. He didn't comment much on that part. I don't blame him. I'm attempting to find the video online. However, he's one smart dude, and I know for a fact that any self-uploaded highlight reels of him are unlisted. He claimed this while showing us the footage in class, and it's 3 AM his time, so I highly doubt he'll give me a quick response. 10 years ago I was freelancing for a company that made Wipeout for Iceland. Got to compete and then was hired to edit the show. It was a great time. All international versions of the show were shot in Buenos Aires in Argentina. Since Iceland has such a small population, only 12 people competed in each episode and 10 get to the next round, which was the sweeper. Their recording days are out of just waiting around. You can't watch the others compete to see their strategy. The first course is exhausting. I fell into the water jumping between two stones and had to swim the middle just to fall in again and swim to the end. Then the boxing wall knocked me down, so I backflipped into the mud. I was so covered in mud I could barely pull myself up the ramp to the big red balls. I did a running jump and lost footing immediately, flipped feet first into the air and fell down. The drop felt forever and I remember vividly the refreshing breeze while plummeting. More swimming. Climbed up to a rope and had to swing through a cookie cutter wall. The only obstacle I completed. Woohoo. Made it to the sweep around. It's so much higher up than you think and the platform is so wobbly. When you stand up to start the game you are running on adrenaline. Never jumped so high in my life. Was the fifth out after the sweeper caught my feet and made me tumble, luckily without a faceplant, into the platform or water. Since I was just one slot away from going to round 3, I still had to go to the recording as a backup in case someone dropped out. It was a really great time with great people. My bro-in-law won the last Wipeout competition held in Scandinavia. I guess it was too expensive for Sweden, Norway and Denmark to host their own individual Wipeout shows, so they did a Scandinavian version together with the other countries. My bro-in-law said it was a pretty fun experience and that they were encouraged to show some extremely overdramatic character traits to be able to enter. Him being an Aussie, he chose to arrive in cowboy boots hat while yelling "Yeehaw" a lot in order to get some time on the air. He ended up winning about $8,000 to $9,000, which all went to furnishing his and my sister's apartment. Overall, pretty fun but weird experience. Finally, my time to shine. I was in Winter Wipeout, Nordic version, in 2014. I actually made it to finals and had an accident before the finish line. I'm from Sweden and I traveled and met up with the Norwegians and Danish in Paris, where we all took a flight to Buenos Aires, Argentina. Everything was paid for, and even got like $100 to cover expenses. Since I was recording in Argentina, the weather was hot and so was the water. But the program was Wipeout Winter even though we recorded it in 35 degrees. All day we had to sit in a tent. We got drinks and food but we could not leave the tent area. Was real boring after a few hours, because we were not allowed to see the course before we ran it. They did walk us through it a couple of minutes before it was our turn to run. Some people, mostly the girls, actually went slow on the first course, just because they wanted to be eliminated, which meant equals 8 days free in Argentina. The other participants, including me, had to wake up at 6 AM to be escorted to the course. They also tested us for alcohol/drugs. So no partying or anything unless you were out of the competition. It was all in all a really fun experience, but I didn't realize how hard and exhausting it is to run, fall and water climb up with clothes on. I was completely drained after each course. But it was only one course, each second day or so. Day 1 record, day 2 chill, day 3 record and so on until you were eliminated. Also, the first course was the only one that could be re-recorded. So they told us, if you dodge an obstacle, you might have to do it again. The first course is really only entertainment, but after that it's a real race. Even though they time you on the first course as well, but wants you to get hit by a majority of the obstacles. I actually worked on the show, got hired in season 2 and pretty much stayed to the end. While I didn't run the courses, I had a blast behind the scenes. Lot of problem solving as the producers came up with ridiculously large ideas that we had to figure out how make into reality. I noticed a couple people saying it's scripted. The announcers are shot on a green screen after the fact, but you can't really script someone getting smacked in the face as they balance themselves on an oversized banana. I spent the better part of my 20s with that crew, so it was a pretty formidable experience. It's the same circle of people who do most large-scale reality alternative programming shows. If you're ever thinking why all game shows and such have a similar look, it's because it's the same guys lighting it, designing it, etc. That's all for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. If you liked the video, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is simply watch the videos. But if you really want to see the channel thrive, subscribe, like, comment, add to favorites, add to playlist, and share with friends. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Reddit and Insta. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you with tomorrow's upload.